All right, everybody, what you're about to see are Palantir developers and engineers that just recently came onto the channel a couple of days ago on the market close stream, and they announced the launch of Palantir's DevCon. Now, this is a really cool thing. I would simplify it by thinking of it as AIPCon, but for developers. So AIPCon is how Palantir has their customers show off their products, and that's obviously important for the mass public, investors, etc. DevCon is more tailored to the people actually building these products and the future people that will be building on top of these products. So what you're going to see in this 30-minute video is Palantir engineers actually talk about the motivation behind starting DevCon, what DevCon is, and how you can get involved. There's 2 links in the description. One is to sign up for AIP, which allows you to have a free dev tier account, and you can start building immediately on top of it. And the second link is to DevCon itself. Essentially, there's going to be about 150 people in this event, and you're going to be building during the event. So if you are a builder, if you are a developer, if you are someone who is a software engineer, or if you're someone who has very low coding experience but wants to get integrated into AIP and see what it's all about, you can sign up, you can start building, and you can actually submit something into DevCon. And if you build something really cool, Palantir will actually fly you out and pay for your flight, hotel, etc., to be at DevCon. So they are accepting a certain number of people. You have to submit in the next 2 weeks. The deadline and all that stuff is on the website in the description, but you have about 2 weeks to submit your entry. And again, you could be a super advanced software engineer that wants to build something using AIP Foundry and put it out there. You could also be someone who doesn't have that much experience, but just wants to get exposed to what it is, even if, you're not into software engineering, but you may be curious about Palantir. You've obviously invested in Palantir and you get a firsthand look at what AIP looks like. That is what the free dev tier account is also about. And anyone can sign up, get integrated into the ecosystem, and then try building something. And then if you get an idea to build something creative over the next couple of days, submit it, and you might be able to actually go to DevCon. So I think this is a very important video to watch if you are into that ecosystem and curious about what it means for developers. If you are an investor and you don't want to submit anything, I still think this is a very important video to watch, because at the end of the day, DevCon to me is Palantir's attempt to get the world to evangelize their product. And what really matters in a software company when you're building transformational software is to get developers, people that are actually in the front lines on these companies, trying to get them to migrate their software stacks into something like Palantir, Foundry, AIP, etc. They need to be the ones convincing their bosses to start using this because they like using it. And so I think DevCon is Palantir's real first attempt to get the entire world to realize what this developer community is, how they can keep expanding that developer community, and how they can one day get tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people, just like GCP, Azure, Amazon, etc., integrated into that ecosystem, and then ultimately developing products at scale using Foundry and AIP. So check it out. Fun video. Ankit, Jeg, and Chat, thank you for joining the channel. This is Palantir's DevCon. All right, so DevCon, I got a lot of questions, want to go deeper into it and kind of talk about what it is. Before we get started with all that, my channel does know Chad because he is becoming the next social media superstar. He did a Twitter Spaces today with a bunch of people. That was awesome. Jeg and Ankit, you guys are new to my channel, so we'll start with you, Ankit. How long have you been working at Palantir, and what do you do at the company?
Yeah, I joined Palantir about 12 years ago, so relatively early on the commercial team. And I worked a bunch on the 0 to 1 around our commercial products, figuring out where our learnings from the government space could be applied to the commercial world. And today I am the AIP product lead. So I spend most of my time focused on figuring out how we can use AI and apply that to the problems that our customers have.
And we met in the elevator at AIPCon, if you remember.
that is true. The elevator and then the reception. So yeah.
Okay, Jeg, how long have you been at the company, and what do you do at Palantir?
Yeah, I joined in 2019. I was a forward deployed engineer. Funnily enough, the first code I saw was Ankit's. I pointed, I don't know what direction he is. And then since 2020, I've been a dev on the platform, and I've been there long enough to be one of our developer experience leads.
Okay, I love it. And Chad, although everyone knows what you do, you can give yourself a little introduction as well. What do you do at Palantir?
I'm architect, I guess, chief Twitter guy. I don't know. Yeah, all sorts of stuff. But I work across commercial and do everything from kind of the education and outreach from our videos and demos to helping customers understand how to use AIP and Foundry in our tools, and then a little bit of anything else in between. So plus I get to work with these guys on product stuff. So like get to see the cool new stuff they're building I get excited about, or when I try to use stuff, I'm like, hey, we should do this. Like, these are the guys that are helping drive and build it. So anything good I show is usually, led and driven by guys like this and developers out inside of Palantir.
Okay. I love it. All right. So first question for all of you. We got a lot to dive into in the context of DevCon, but what is DevCon? What was the purpose and philosophy of kind of starting this thing? And how do you guys see it evolving over the next couple of years in terms of getting more developers to really evangelize the product? A lot of people here in this chat, they know the company. They obviously have studied the valuation and numbers of the stock itself. But at the end of the day, if developers aren't using the software Foundry AIP, then the company means nothing. And you guys are at the forefront of getting those developers to see the value of Palantir Foundry. So we'll start with you, Ankit. What was the motivation to start DevCon?
Yeah, so I think for me, going through the early days of our product being applied in commercial, Palantirians are naturally pretty skeptical. So going into it, I think even myself, I wasn't really a believer in the product until I saw it really work with one of the customers that I was working with really closely. I had contributed many lines of code to the product, and I still didn't believe it worked until I could really see it actually being used and driving something in production. And so that was a flipping point where it was like, oh man, this is real, and we're gonna have to. There's a long journey ahead of us to make this the product and platform that you know today. But I think that I had a similar moment with our developer platform this year. So it's a realization that actually this is something that is pretty differentiated and is, I think, really valuable for me as the consumer in a lot of ways, which I think for our products, it's like we as individuals can see how it's applied at our customers, but as developers, it's much more personal. We're building for ourselves, and so that is something that I'm pretty excited about.
Okay, Jeg, your motivations for contributing to start DevCon?
Yeah, I think there's a lot similar. Basically, as I've been working on the product for so long, my whole experience has been like, yeah, what can we do for the product to actually make it work for enterprise, make it work for customer A? And that is very motivational. But there was a turning point where I got access to the product for myself in my own personal time. And I was like, damn, like actually there's so much I can do with this stuff.
Can you take us into that moment back at, this was what, 2019, 2020? What was that aha moment when you thought it was?
So the moment I started using Palantir personally was literally the start of this year, 2024. We were doing like an internal sort of product for friends thing where you could try it just before we started moving into AIP dev tier as you see it today. And I was shockingly finding myself using the software I was building on weekends, embarrassingly, building all of my side projects on it. And I found like my personal project stack just moved from all of the classic cloud providers to just being Palantir. And it's kind of just been like nothing but hype for me. Like it's hard for me to say anything else, but the product can do so much that I just find myself building random stuff all the time.
We kind of hit that point of the dopamine hit from using it. I last night went to bed at 3:30 because I was like, I can just add one more thing to this OSDK thing that I'm building, and I regret it this morning. But it's definitely got that addictive thing for devs now, which I think it means it's going to be, I think, a lot more useful too.
Which I think is the key. Is the difference is the focus isn't just on the tools. The focus is on that I'm building cool shit that matters quickly in scalable and sustainable ways. And so it's like, is the outcome focus of developers, not just I built this technically cool thing. It's like, holy crap, I did something like that had a really cool outcome really quickly. That value add addiction is like the dopamine hit I see. It's like, if I can show up at a boot camp or at home on the weekend and like build something that's just fucking cool, like it's awesome.
I think this is the huge difference for me, which is like I used to start a project and then spend the whole day thinking what my tech stack was going to be. I'd be like, oh, what database am I going to use? How am I going to do vector databases because that's new? And
right
now I just don't think about that stuff. I just build things.
Yep.
Okay, so Ankit, can you tell me about this? Because you said you didn't sleep till 3 a.m. last night. Neither did I, but I didn't sleep till 3 a.m. because I was up writing a long Twitter post about a valuation model on a stock, not Palantir, that I really care about. And I spent a long time writing this post. And there was a bit of dopamine there because I'm a finance nerd, where I was putting the numbers together and it made sense. And then I pressed post and I kind of saw what people thought about my valuation projection. Can you guys take me deeper into what is the dopamine unlock for a developer? You guys are launching DevCon. What do you want devs to kind of feel when they're working with Foundry and AIP that gets them to stay up till 3 a.m. to keep working?
I think for me, it's bringing the workflows that are interesting in the platform and bringing them to other places. Like one of the things that I was doing is that I have a little launcher that I use for on my Mac. I hit Command Space. It's kind of like Spotlight, and I already have this semantic search for GitHub issues workflow that I built in AIP, but I don't want to have to open a new browser tab, open the workshop module, go and load up. What I want is I want to hit Command Space, search issues, start typing, and get better search than GitHub search. Like GitHub search is fine, but it's like what I really need is like I don't know the name of the issue. I gotta figure out how to actually go and get the things that I use in my day-to-day to be where I use them, and that I think is pretty cool.
DevCon, it's our first developer conference. It's really focused on, so we've got like our top developers at all of our existing customers. They're coming. But we have this thing called the DevCon Fellowship that's going to be open to the public where people can submit their ideas. So what you just saw there was like an example submission for DevCon. So you can go sign up for AIP, build your stuff, submit a 2 to 3 minute video through the entry form that Amit's showing here, and you can get a chance to actually come build with us for 2 days. And so this you have to have done by October 16th and submit it, and then we'll go through all the best submissions and pick the winners, who will then get a chance to come actually build with us. And so, like 2 days, we're gonna like launch new products. You're gonna have like competitive and collaborative building together. So building out new ideas with some of these best developers, like the best AIP developers across the world, will be there along with our product team. I'll be there. Jeg and Ankit will be there, and the goal is really like building that community of ideas and how we can actually go execute differently, and then what that developer experience is. So like getting people into not just, hey, these are cool outcomes. So like if you think about AIPCon, it's about the business outcomes of what we're driving. Here, this is about how do we enable developers, whether you're at a large enterprise or you're a 2-person bootstrap startup, the same people using the same tools. And so the dev tier is that you sign up for as part of DevCon here. It is the full-fledged platform. The only thing you have a restriction on is the number of users and computing like LLM tokens. It is the full set of tools that you can go in there and play with. And so, like, I think just so people can understand, like, that's amazing. Like, normally to have access that you had to be a part of a massive enterprise going through a long process to get, you can literally just go to the site that you put in there, sign up, get an account, and then go build stuff. And so the goal out of here is for the fellowship is to find some of the best creative ideas and get people out there and coming. So we want people to have creativity and come up with ideas. What do you want to build? And maybe we'll share a few ideas that Jag and Ankit and I have about things we want to go build for this. But then there will be some like judging. When I said competitive building, we're going to have a little fun and have some competitive building across teams. And we might have a few surprise judges people will be excited about. So that's the idea of what DevCon is. The DevCon Fellowship is for people out in the community to also come along with these enterprise customers. So hopefully that gives a frame of like what DevCon is.
The idea that you have to build something to get get accepted into DevCon. Can you speak on that? Like, what was the idea of making that the invitation process?
Well, builders want to be around builders. I think that's you want to be able to talk to people who are actually building real stuff, and so that's kind of the gate that we set up for it.
And if you know Amit, like on our Twitter feed between Sham and others, like if you build cool shit and post about it on X, and you tag me or Sham or Ted or whoever, like that, people have gotten jobs that way. So like just excitement of like we look for builders that are out there passionate, excited. Like that's what we're going after.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting thing when I saw this idea. It's an invite-only accelerator program bringing together about 150 of some of the most ambitious builders. You've got to build to get in. And then if you really build some really cool shit, you might get a job at one of the most exclusive places to get a job on the planet, which is Palantir. Okay, cool. So this video, we don't have to actually play the video itself, but like what he built, or can you, at a high level, can you explain what he built, and then we'll get into the ontology part. So what is this Colorado map app that he built?
Jake, when do you guys want to do it?
This is classic Palantirian in the Denver office, because I'm surprised that no one has given him shit for talking about 14ers, but bringing in all the different hikes and peaks that are available, and then a bunch of other things like reviews, putting in one place so it's useful for him. And I think like that's kind of the idea behind the DevCon fellowship is like, hey, build something that would be fun for you to build and interesting for you to build. And going through and having stuff like, hey, here's the pipeline for it when he's showing that. I think that's kind of is the acceleration you get with being able to build this in AIP, where a lot of this is things that you can maybe do outside of AIP, and maybe each of the individual pieces you can put together, but putting together a chunking and embedding pipeline, which then also is indexed, and being able to then query it and use it and then have that generate an SDK for you. And all of those individual pieces, when it comes together, makes it a really nice experience. One, just build really quickly, but two, also have it in a way that can start building on top of each other. Because now he's got these reviews in here. He's got the peaks. He's got his own history of where he's been and hasn't been. Maybe that starts compounding with another application where maybe he wants to put together something that's like, hey, I want to put together a weekend trip planner or something, and I can take advantage of some of this information that's already in here. Maybe he wants to go in and use it for something else, and kind of can keep building on it. That's that. You're probably tired of hearing the word ontology, but that's the thesis behind that.
I think there's some pretty cool stuff in this video as well. It's like when I first saw it, I was there trying to go through my head of how he built it and like what app, like what framework he was using, and then he goes to workshop, and I'm like, oh damn, he used the hack and used our workshop like application builder, and even like the GeoPoint stuff where you look at that pipeline and it looks like there's complexity there, but like some of the parts where he's just like, and then I just made polygons. I wouldn't be shocked if he just like rapidly sped through building this thing. It's great.
Yeah. So can we speak to this question? I'm Beneficial here says, how can I build or develop something using AIP? And then we have friend of the channel, Jack Dobson, also employee of Palantir, saying that the app you're seeing was built without code. If someone doesn't know how to code, should they be a little worried about building with AIP, or should they embrace the process of using AIP?
I think they should embrace it. It's like when you're asking how do I get started building with AIP, I'm sure there's a link that will come somewhere. But basically, it's kind of wild. You just go on our website and you put your credit card in, and we won't charge you. That's just to know who you are. But after that, it's literally just start clicking around, going through the platform.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's interesting is even if you can code, it's often faster to put together your first prototype in like Workshop or something like that, where you can use some of the no-code tools for doing things there. So maybe you start with a no-code thing, see, okay, does this work? Does this do what I want it to do? And you can iterate from there. And then later, when you're like, actually, I want this to be super custom, or I want this to look and feel exactly how I want, or I want to bring it into some application I already have, or then you can go and add code for that. But by that point, you've already proven out, okay, it kind of does what I want. And in some cases, you can fool people. Jag was fooled that this wasn't even a workshop module, but.
But I think that the key here is some of the best builders we see are domain experts that have enough understanding about how the data and the logic and the actions of the business fit together, that they have the tools to go build in there. And like the cool thing on a pipeline builder is like you have the same scalable backend to whether it's a few rows of data, or it's a massive pipeline, or it's multimedia data, like the same backend, same tools. So whether you're doing like really simple stuff or really sophisticated stuff, it scales with you. So the cool thing is if you build something really simple and you start scaling, you're not having to re-platform, retry things. And so if you're a domain expert in a business, you know how it works, you can get in there and build. And that's honestly some of the best like builders I see is when they already know how everything is, and now we supercharge them with the tools that they can use.
And there are just like new building blocks that we didn't have even a year ago that give you a lot more flexibility to do that. Things like compute modules, where it's okay, you can start with some of the out of the box building blocks that we give you, but then eventually you want to go and do something totally custom on the back end. You can do that. You can bring your own Docker container. You can even build that Docker container in the platform and then have it be good to go and deploy it as part of your ontology. You can say, all right, actually that Docker container exposes some functions, and those functions I now want to use in my OSDK app or in Worktrap or wherever else. And so it kind of stitches together with the existing things that you already have in there. And so that kind of stuff gives you a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, I think like, I don't know if people have seen my SongShare app. I'm really trying to pitch it out there so that I get some users. But I had a music classifier, like a model that took my songs and then said whether they were country music or not. And unfortunately, AIP doesn't come with that feature out of the box. Maybe one day we will. But for now, I can like put that in a Docker container and just slap it onto the platform. And that was like really rapid to build, while I could still use all the tools we saw on screen.
And the purpose of building that app was because you have a relationship with music, I imagine. So it's something that you would actually use.
Yeah, it was quite funny because I built an app for me and then we used it promotionally. But it was all of that was built on the like AIP dev tier. I built that all with the free tier, not some enterprise license, not some special license.
Huh.
The
Okay.
guitars behind him are not for show, apparently.
But you bring up a point, like, okay, we want people to be passionate, but I also want to see people building stuff that isn't just like, I'm ingesting data, I run a pipeline, I put it in ontology, I create a cool dashboard. Like that's cool. But like, show us compute modules, show us the OSDK applications, create a custom application on top of, like, show us the things that are kind of out of the standard, like data application, BI.
Chad, can you give an example to kind of humanize it? What is an example of an application that doesn't use the standard data pipeline ontology stuff, but is actually built on AIP that is something you would be impressed by as a judge?
Well, so Jag and Anki and I were talking about this, and so maybe they can chime in too. But like, Jag was wanting to make like a to-do app, something for himself that's bi-directional, it's taking action, and then we were riffing on it, like, can I have a Suri integration where I can just talk to it? It goes into AIP, it classifies it, creates a note, and then Ankit wants to put it in Obsidian. Like, can people actually make all these integrations orchestrated through AIP? Like, that would be cool.
Yeah, I think especially like right back to the sources you already use today, right? Like if I'm already doing stuff, and I use Obsidian for taking notes, make it so that I can continue writing notes in Obsidian, but then use OSDK to go and maybe add that to the ontology too. So then I can say, all right, it's the end of the day. I've been barfing whatever random stream of consciousness into my notes. Let's take that and make it so that stream of consciousness, I can pluck out all the to-dos that I have to do and then make that actually maybe show up in Jeg's to-do app, and then make that be something I can actually use to then start building on top of, to say, okay, well now I have my to-dos, I have my notes. Can I start figuring out, like, when I'm going into, bring in my calendar, so when I'm going into a meeting, I want to know, like, hey, what's all the things that I said I would talk to this person about? Because I maybe took some random notes about it a while ago, but I don't know if I put it in my notes before that person or follow up. Like, go find that for me.
I mean, I'd want you to take it a step further, right? Like, I don't even want to have that meeting with you. I want you to like synthesize all of that text into a summary and then send it to me as a voice note that's been auto-generated with text-to-speech, so that I can just like listen to that podcast and then we don't have to talk.
Jag, you can't get out of meeting me. That's not. So AIP to cancel meetings, I could get behind that.
Dude, I think that's a multi-billion-dollar idea. If AIP can cancel meetings in corporate America,
Yeah, we all just put our stream of thoughts down, and then the model will say if we're agreed or not.
But in the enterprise context, like, make an Excel plugin for with OSDK. Like, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff. You see the guys out there, Jason Baseman and the Boundless Discovery guys. They're starting a company ontologizing news. Like, that's really cool stuff. So I mean, it's just like, let the creativity flow. It's not just a business data analytics thing is what we're getting after. Like, you can see these rich applications and other ways to do things.
Okay, so we're living in the age of AI. AI is everywhere. AIP, right? You can't go anywhere without learning about AI. You guys, all three of you, are actual builders in the age of AI. Is this the best time in the history of humanity to be a builder?
Well, I guess, yeah. I mean, things are just getting easier, right? It's like if I was to measure, then I'd say probably tomorrow or after that will be even better. But literally, this product is getting better every day, and like the accessibility to AI is just incredible. Like it's something that I studied at university, and then it was like one course that I was never going to go near, and I never thought I'd be working with AI in any capacity. But the ability to like access it, use it in real world scenarios, do the dumb stuff we're talking about, and also the enterprise capabilities. I shouldn't just mention like the crazy ideas we have. Like it's wild that anyone can do this literally just by getting a product for free.
Yeah, I think it's been difficult, and this is kind of the goal behind our developer effort is like, how do you actually make your enterprise programmable?
Right.
And what does that mean? It's like, oh, well, I probably have 100 different systems with a bunch of different ways of interacting with them. I probably have 50 browser tabs open to do any one task. Whereas being able to actually go and say, I can, one, integrate with those things, two, now like bring AI into the story, and then three, be able to put that back into those systems. That is something that is how you actually take advantage of that promise of AI. Like I think there is a lot of this weight on, okay, is it actually going to be transformative for your business? Is it going to be able to let you actually accomplish the goals that you're trying to do? And to do that, you need to be able to actually get into where you're making decisions. You need to go into the tools that you use every day. And for that, you need to have that kind of developer tooling.
I think one of the things that you kind of highlighted there was like, it actually lets you test the tangibility of some of these things. Like sometimes I'll walk into a room and someone will be like, yeah, but let's do this with AI. It's like a meme. But I think the thing that you can do with AIP is actually like test if it works with AI. Like we're not at the limits of what AI can do today, but you can actually see if a workflow will work, how much your workflow can be improved, and actually iterate on it using our platform.
Yeah, which brings up the point of like when you talk about like how exciting it is to be a builder. I think you guys saw that the architecture Tower of Babel video I did. It's like as these hyperscalers and all these services start to come together, it only is more difficult because you're still in a single hyperscaler stitching their own tools together. You're spending all your time stitching tools instead of building the outcome you want. And I think that's why I'm excited about like AIP is like the tools just work together and you're not spending your time stitching. And so like imagine all the time you know instead of spending a week setting up a vector database for all of your embeddings and pipelines, what happens if you did that in 5 minutes in a pipeline inside of AIP? Like, okay, well, what am I gonna do with the rest of the week? I'm gonna build meaningful shit. Like that's the difference why I get excited about it is we're taking all that friction out of there that is between tools, and like now you just move at the speed you're thinking.
AWS, GCP, all these platforms have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of developers. Palantir is in its infancy with Foundry and AIP getting to that scale. Do you guys think DevCon is your first real attempt of beginning that process to get millions of developers using the software?
Yeah, it's our first way that we want to sit side by side by people in the public that are not just like existing customers even. It's the people that are curious or interested before you had to go through a long process to even get access to any of the tools. So the fact that now you can get it for free, cool. You can go sign up for it, cool. But now you can go to DevCon and sit next to us and like we can show you all the intuition of the things we've learned. Like that's the coolest thing about being able to use the product is you build the intuition about what AI can do for your business, yourself. And so like the fact with DevCon is you're going to sit against some of the best developers in the world from all these different companies along with our product teams. Like that's a pretty cool experience. That's why like I'm excited about the fellowship. Beyond that is like we want like just in the retail community here online, it's like we want the retail community, like we want the dev community alongside the enterprise developer community, right? As we want everybody.
And it's like developers are not going to go and look at a presentation to figure out if like a thing is actually useful or work for them. It's like we had the first version of the DevCon page when we were workshopping it internally, and my number one criticism was like, how can, you have to have code above the fold. Like you have to, like the first thing I want to see is code. Otherwise I just don't care. And so I think part of the goal here is let's just show you. Let's show you what it's like. Let's actually build the thing. It's fast enough that you can just do it instead of having to talk about it or convince you that it's a good idea or kind of sell the shape of it. We'll just show you what building with it is like.
So I know we're running up on time here, where we're gonna have to drop a bit, but I want to make sure that people understand, like, yes, there is a select crew of people that are coming to DevCon from our customers, but this is open. The only way for people from the public to get to go to DevCon is through the fellowship, which means you got to go build shit. You got till the 16th to go build stuff.
The 16th October, so 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 16th October. There is no reason people cannot build in their free time some really cool stuff that we talked about today and have it submitted before the 16th. And like, please, I mean, you can share a private YouTube link in here, but like, it's more fun to post on X and tag us in it and let's talk about it. Or if you've got ideas, tag us in there and we'll ideate with you. So
also, you guys are paying for some of people's trips to DevCon if they win.
Yes,
right?
so the fellowship does. I mean, it goes to the details on the website about how much and all the pay. But yes, it is. We're going to pay for flights and hotels and lots of different pieces of it. All the details are on the site there. But yeah, this is like, a paid trip to come develop with us and some of the best AIP developers from the top enterprises in the world.
I love it. I love it so much. Before you guys leave, I have to ask one question because I know my chat is going to kill me if I don't ask this question to Ankit and Jag. This word, the ontology, how special is that word to you guys? And is it the thing that keeps you believing that Palantir truly is one of the world's biggest secrets in terms of how powerful the software is?
That word is magic. We love it every time we hear it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those things where you go through the midwit meme of going from like that's like interesting to like it's, I don't know, it's a made up word that no one knows what it means, doesn't really convey the idea, back to then again being like, no, actually this is the differentiated thing that is interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're at this point where people are talking about where ontology fits in their tech stack. And like the ontology is like the unlocking factor for many of our customers. Actually, right. What am I saying? All of them.
Yeah. And then you gotta have to see it and build the intuition. So come to DevCon, build the intuition. Let's do it.
I love it. All right, DevCon, you can apply right there in the link in the chat. Got 2 weeks to apply, and the winners, a certain amount of them, will get flown out to DevCon. Thank you, Ankit, Jag, and Chad. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. See you.
Bye, guys. Bye-bye.